Everyone. Today we're going to be talking about how to explain job hopping in an interview. I know I get this a lot, especially when I get on calls with potential clients or current job seekers. So I'll be talking a little bit more about how to explain job hopping in an interview, and I'm also going to share a sample answer my client used that got her several job offers. If you don't know me, my name is Claudia Miller, and I'm a career coach for women in tech and corporate trainer. Since COVID, my clients have been able to get jobs within 90 days or less, and on average, my clients get 56% in salary increases. So that translates to anywhere between $30 and up to $100,000 in additional earned income. Due to my client's success, I've been featured in Forbes, MSNBC, and Business Insider put me in their top global list of top 23 innovative career coaches. All right, so let's talk a little bit more about job hopping. Now, one of the things that I hear, especially as a career coach, is I get both sides of the story. I hear clients that maybe have been in their role or maybe at their company for so long that they feel that the employer thinks that they're too much set in their ways and therefore they are not sought after, or maybe they don't want to be hired because of that, because they've been at a company for so long. Now, I also hear the other side, which is what we're going to talk about today, where a lot of my clients who, classify or perceive it as job hopping, feel a lot of guilt and shame around it and fear of, what are they going to think, that maybe I'm not serious enough, or that I wasn't doing a good job, or companies were letting me go and firing me left and right. Like, what are they thinking? And it's always negative. So one of the things that I wanted to talk about first, before we even dive in on how to handle the situation and how to bring it up in an interview, is to really change your belief and mindset around job hopping. So here's what it means. There are two, and actually there are multiple sides of one story. So what I mean by that is, one of the things that I've seen, especially for, top sought after candidates, the ones working at Google, Pixar, Disney, Apple, like these really great professionals out there that are really great at their job, they're constantly being poached by the competition. So they're sought after, their skill sets are desired in a marketplace. So they're always trying to steal employees from the other competitor because they're so talented. Now, you wouldn't see them or classify them as job hoppers. You probably see them as lucky, or that must be nice, that companies just want you and they're trying to steal you from other companies and they're offering you really great pay. That's how you would perceive it. Why? Because we position them as top sought after candidates. We didn't say, oh, they've job hopped or they went, 2 to 3 jobs in the last 3 years. And if you look at some of these really great candidates out there, sometimes they are in those roles for 1 or 2 years and then they get poached by another company. And this is why a lot of these companies now have created the golden handcuffs, just so they can retain their top talent by keeping them, by giving them a lot of stock or other perks and benefits that it makes it really hard for them to leave. So this is a strategy companies have used in order to keep that talent, because they do tend to leave. They want to stay competitive. They're always up for a new challenge, and companies are always after them. So they're always having offers left and right. So let's change that mindset that you have around job hopping, and what that looks like. And honestly, since COVID, more companies have been more understanding in seeing different types of jobs and companies in a candidate's resume. With everything happening, as you all have seen, there's been companies that have closed, companies that have done hiring freezes, companies that had to do layoffs just because they were really impacted because of COVID, and so many other reasons out there. So it's a little bit more understanding now in the marketplace. Now, I'm not saying it doesn't exist, but more companies are being more relaxed in what they consider job hopping or how they perceive it, because they probably had to lay off a few people in their company, or maybe they had to take a hiring freeze, or they just couldn't give promotions because they were uncertain what was going to be happening in the marketplace. So just note that we're in a better state at this point in time on what is perceived as job hopping. And, one of the things that I wanted to tell you is how you position the story is very important. And storytelling, you want to make sure you prepare for it. This is not a question if they were to ask you, is there a specific reason why, you moved on from three different companies in the past 3 years? Um, you want to make sure you address it from the beginning. You don't want that to be the elephant in the room where you're like, maybe they're going to hear back. Address it from the beginning during the interview process. And just know that every story has multiple angles. Kind of like what I mentioned, you wouldn't consider that person a job hopper because they're just sought after in the marketplace. Or maybe that person that's just been in that role or that company for so long that now they feel like they're not wanted in the marketplace either. Well, that's another story. So we need to change our stories in order to change our results and our output. Now, I'll be sharing quickly first on like an example of a client that actually used during their job searching. But I just want you to know that when it comes to job hopping, it really does matter and it does make a big impact in your whole entire job search process. If you always have in the back of your mind of they're not going to want me because I've been job hopping, I've had so many different roles, or I've been at so many different companies for a short span of time, they're not going to want me. It's really going to leak into your interviewing skills or your interviews overall. It will impact your confidence. And because of it, you will either get zero job offers or you are just going to get an offer with a very low pay because you didn't come across as confident because the whole time you're thinking they're going to ask about my job hopping or the different types of jobs that I've had. So here's an example of what it should look and sound like for a client. So right now, I'm going to give you an example. This client was in the marketing space. I think they had been within 3 years. They had already been in two different companies, in two different types of roles, and now they're looking to move from senior manager to like a director level. So at first, this client was worried that they're going to think she's a job hopper or that, worked at two different companies, that she took on a lateral move. And then all of a sudden, she wanted to jump into director. So she felt like she wasn't good enough and she had that fear based around, her situation. So we worked on it together and we were able to see the benefits of her being at two different companies. And you want to remember, sometimes being at different companies in different roles gives you a competitive advantage. And what I mean by that is if you worked at two different types of companies, you probably learned two to different types of processes. Your network has expanded. Maybe you learned something what works and doesn't work, maybe different customer segmentation or who these specific clients or products were. So your knowledge has expanded because of it. So there is value in you being at different companies or different types of roles within your career. Now, the question is, how can we position that to our advantage that makes us stand out from the competition and gives us an upper edge over everyone else? So here's an example that we came up with from a client. And I'm reading it right now because I want to make sure that I capture the story. But what she said is, as you can see, I was a senior manager at X company, and that allowed me to take on a leadership role where our customer base was in the US. I then went to Y company and took a lateral role, but this time I wanted to focus more on international markets, specifically in Latin America. I knew I wanted to be in a global director role and strategically moved into these roles and companies you see in my resume to give me the skill set and insight to be successful in a global director role. Because of it, I now have A, B, and C, which were the top three skills they were looking to hire for in that role. You see how we portrayed the story? It was very intentional, it was strategic, it was methodical, and because of it, it all tied together now. That's positioned me to be the best candidate for this global director role, which is both overseeing North America and Latin America within these two different customer segmentations. That is how she positioned herself and her background and her work expertise during the interview. And she addressed it from the beginning when they told her, tell me about yourself. She brought it head on first, so that way it wouldn't be the elephant in the room throughout the whole interview process. The interviewer can get a fully understanding of what happened and then move forward. So it is all about how you tell the story, and it is important. And you also need to believe it yourself. So that's why I always make sure that my clients feel comfortable and that it's aligned and feels true to them, because I want that confidence and being able to understand it, that is a true story, to be able to come out across during the interview process. And again, position it as a competitive advantage that will help them stand out from the competition. So if you want, you can share a story in the comments section of this video, and I'll give you feedback on the first few posts and tell you if you need to improve it or if you already nailed your story on job hopping. And if you need more help with how to tell your story during the interviews and become a sought after candidate, schedule a complimentary career strategy call with me to see if my program 90-day job offer will be a good fit for you. Like I said, it's a step-by-step job strategy process on how you can get started in your job search and land a fulfilling job within 90 days or less while increasing your income. And on average, it's around 56%. So let me know if you have any questions, like I said, in the comment section. And I want to hear about your story on how you're going to reframe your job hopping in your past experience to make it now seem and position it as advantage and as a something positive that now the employer gets to benefit from because of your expertise. Have a great day.